I'm sure by now most of you have heard the news about the new New York Times editor, but for those that haven't, let me give a quick rundown. A few days ago, the New York Times announced that they had hired a new tech journalist, and as the internet is wont to do because they hate the New York Times, they looked into her Twitter history. Which, reason number 5673 of why Twitter is bullshit. But they looked into it and they found a rather common theme amongst a large amount of her tweets. They were very racist. They were very racist to white people, though, which I don't know how we've gotten here, but apparently that's perfectly fine. I will include an image of several of her tweets that she has since deleted. These tweets include things such as dumbass fucking white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs pissing on fire hydrants. Hashtag cancel white people. And, oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men. Her defense for those is that she was being trolled for being an Asian woman, so she counter-trolled by being racist to what she presumed were white men. Yes, and if I poke out your eyes and you poke out mine, then we're completely even and no one has lost anything. That's not how it works. You've lost your moral high ground when you stoop to doing the things that the other person does. You are a journalist. You are supposed to be held to a higher standard. That's why it's not okay when you do it, whereas when a random schmuck on the internet does it, it's more acceptable. It still ain't right, but it's not as earth-shatteringly bad as when the journalist does it. Now, I have seen people bringing up the case of, oh, well, this would be treated completely differently if it was another race doing it to another race, like if it was a white woman doing it to black people, but because it's Asian to white, that's why it's perfectly acceptable. And people have said, no, that would never be the case. You're just making up bullshit. They would do the exact same thing. It'd be perfect. Actually, the white woman would be able to get away with it a lot easier. And no, actually, she wouldn't. Because we have a direct one-to-one case. I have not seen anybody bring this up, which is really weird to me. This happened just 6 months ago. The exact same thing, the exact same scenario, the exact same job. Google the name Quinn Norton. Tech journalist, the exact same thing that the new editor is being hired for, who was fired immediately after they hired her because of what the New York Times called racist tweets. I haven't been able to find what those racist tweets are, short of her saying that she is friends with one of the people that runs one of the white supremacist sites. I believe the big white supremacist site. Now, I don't know if she did anything else, but I'm going to, for the sake of just working with what's being said, take it at full face value that she did. That she said things that were just as bad as what this new editor is saying. It was a white woman who said bad stuff about black people, and she got fired instantly. Here we have an Asian woman who said bad stuff about white people. She's still getting her job. In fact, the only difference here is the New York Times says that they didn't know about Quinn Norton's stuff, but they did know about the new editor stuff, and that's why they're keeping the new one. Or one of the reasons, anyway. You gotta be kidding me. You knew about her racist tweets, and you still hired her. If that's not an endorsement of it, I don't know what is. Oh, but she promised she won't do it anymore, and she's stopped, and she's a better person. Yeah, I seem to remember a game developer that was hired and recently fired from Guild Wars 2 because of that exact same thing. How did that work out? This, I don't know how else to explain it, is a complete showing of bias on the New York Times part. That apparently it's okay for a minority person to be racist to white people, but it's not okay for a white person to be racist against minority people. Oh, well, racism is power plus privilege. You mean the power that New York Times is giving this Asian woman the privilege of being racist, whereas they didn't to the white woman. Is that what you mean? So from now on, until the New York Times addresses this bias or fires her like they did the previous editor, I am going to be referring to this new tech journalist as Racist Sarah Jeong. Anytime she's brought up in any conversation, I'm going to be calling her Racist Sarah Jeong, because I am not going to let anybody forget that she is a self-admitted racist against white people, and that the New York Times hired her knowing she was, and have absolutely no problem with the fact that they hired racist Sarah Jeong. This is unbelievable. It is apples to apples. This isn't the normal, oh, well, you're comparing apples to oranges here, you can't quite match it up. This is 1-to-1. And this proves that the New York Times doesn't give a shit if it's bad to white people. I'm a human being. I care if someone is being racist to anyone. I don't like people that are racist to black people, Asian people, brown people, Arab people, white people. Doesn't make a difference. Racist is racist. It doesn't matter who you're doing it to. At least, the one good thing to come out of all this is that people have seen just how horrible and how biased the New York Times is. And I hope that this really brings them down. Something tells me it won't, and it's still going to take them fucking up on a cosmic scale a couple more times beyond this. But I would like to believe that this is a good first chip away at it. This has been Math Machine, reminding everyone to just be aware of good old racist Sarah Jeong out there in the New York Times. Peace out.